Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for sticking around. We had a little bit of technical issues, but thank you so much. We're really excited to be here today. And we've actually got a really awesome hour planned for you guys. So Alpha and Monica here with DistillDesign.
Hello.
And this is our very first Google Hangout. We're calling it Distilled Hangouts, part of Distilled TV. And we're going to be talking with a very special guest. She's an awesome colleague of ours, and we're so excited. Leigh Fowler of Rise Media and Design. And Leigh, would you like to say hello?
Absolutely, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. You know, Google Hangouts, like we're the tech masters, and we're still having some trouble, you know, with connectivity and these kind of things. So, you know, it happens, and you got to go with it. So I'm really pleased to be here. It's live, and when it's live, anything goes, right? So we're gonna have a lot of fun today.
Awesome. Woohoo! So we're going to talk a little bit about online marketing 101. This is why we're all here today. So let's get started with that. I'll give you guys just a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to be talking about. So it's going to be all about learning about social media and online marketing. So, you know, end social media overwhelm with 5 great tips. We'll talk a little bit about that. Leigh's 9 B's of engagement for social media success. How to measure ROI with online marketing and social media. Discuss the pros and cons of personal versus business social media accounts. And frequency, purpose, and content strategies. So it's going to be pretty exciting, and we're going to help you guys out. We've got some special great things for those of you that registered, that signed up. You got some great links, and you got a great download to follow along with us today. The download looks like this. So if you guys printed it off, you can follow along and take some notes. So Leigh, I would like to actually just do a little housekeeping, and then we're get to know you just a little bit better. So for housekeeping, just to let you guys know, we're going to be doing some Q&A at the end. And so we'll be answering your questions. If you want to type some questions on the Facebook event page or underneath this video, there's a comment box. And we will be having something special for you at the end that we'll offer just to you that registered. So for now, let's actually move on and talk to Leigh about, you know, what are you all about? How did you get started? And why are we talking to you today? Because you're so special to us. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My goodness. Well, Monica and Alpha and I, we share a lot of the same values when it comes to marketing your business online. And in my job, you know, I do online marketing can consist of anything from, you know, social media, blogging, newsletters, website, content. But you can do all the marketing or social media marketing in the world, but if you don't have a good website, it's not going to convert, and you're not going to get ROI on your original efforts. And so I really connected with Monica and Alpha because they are amazing web designers and graphic designers. And if you look at sort of the top trends, I was examining or reviewing socialmediaexaminer.com's their annual report, and they interview, I think it's 2,800 marketers, and they said one of the top 7 trends is about visual engagement online. And so you're going to see, you know, an emerging trend, and if you haven't already, you know, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, it's video, but also you probably see a lot of quotes that are, you know, graphic quotes with pictures in the background and infographics. And so this is actually, you know, a huge trend right now, and people are making it easy for us to use graphics and visuals. But my history, let me get back, we'll backtrack a little bit. You know, I have a background in cycling. I always wanted to give back to the sport of cycling, which led to writing about cycling, which led to launching an online magazine back in early 2002 or 3. But really what it ended up was working at a fitness magazine as a digital media director. We published over 400 email campaigns annually. We launched about 21 social media pages where about, I don't know, 6, 7, we reached over 80,000 fans. So we had a tried and true strategy that worked, and it's working now with my clients today. So I'm really excited to share some of those elements of success and to really get back to the true nature maybe of genuine or heartfelt marketing, if you will, where it's about relationships. and nurturing those relationships. So if some of you sitting on the call today or our TV show today, if you're kind of intimidated a little bit by the technology or the fast-moving, landscape of social media, if you stay true to old-fashioned marketing or old-fashioned relationships about, staying in touch and nurturing and helping and guiding, and so we're going to talk about those things as well today.
Yeah, awesome. Leigh Fowler from Rise Media and Design. This is crazy. Awesome. So happy to have you here. So yeah, guys, I mean, this is going to be really exciting. Let's talk a little further about, we're graphic and web designers. We start with the logo, the website, and all that great stuff. So it's all about design, getting that brand notice. But really, like when you're online, how do you get that started? Okay, say we get a beautiful website done for somebody. What next? What's the next step for someone?
Yeah, absolutely. So we use different platforms, social media platforms, to drive traffic back to the website. And ideally, when you're working with a website, you want to have some call to actions on your site. And so Monica and Alpha, we do that through graphics, we do that through language, and you really want to guide your consumers to what you want them to do. So at the very, if you were to write down at the somewhere on this worksheet that you have today, that if we have overwhelm when it comes to online marketing because it's always changing. And if you start with the goal, like what do you want online marketing to do for your business, and you work backwards from there. So I think with the website, when you have a good website, it's converting, and you have a way to measure that conversion. So you've installed Google Analytics, you have key, before you even get started, you're like, okay, well, I want to get some calls in, so I'm going to measure how many calls and how that improves over the month. If I want signups for my email list, this is a way to measure your investments and track, how your website is doing and how to make changes over time. So definitely a website is sort of the starting point, because you could do all the Google AdWords in the world, all the social media tweets and posts, but if your website isn't structured in a way that you can get value, to give value from your visitors, then there's a bit of a confusion element there.
Awesome. So thank you for that, Leigh. I wanted to actually hone in a little bit on the worksheet, and I wanted to ask, kind of skip past the website a little bit, we'll get back to that, but a little bit about social media overwhelm.
Yes.
I want to talk about the 5 things to do on social media to kind of skip that overwhelm and stay calm. Yeah. So what are those 5 things, the 5 tips you can give us?
Well, I think, for starters, the overwhelm starts because people get on there and, they're trying different things, and they're sort of looking around and they're posting here or tweeting there, but there's no real plan. And so I like to take a step back and think about, okay, what are your top goals? Like, what are you actually selling? What are you trying to tell people? And so if you look at, okay, I'm going to start investing my time in social media or newsletter or blog, but really, what am I trying to do here? Am I trying to stay top of mind? Am I trying to build visibility for my brand? Am I trying to attract new customers? Am I selling a product or a service? So we start there, and I think that's really important, because we could be posting about the weather or our weekend or our kids, and that comes later, but really we want to get down to the true nature of, like, why are we actually spending time on online marketing in the first place. The second thing is that
oh, wow. I think we got cut off here.
I think Leigh got cut off. We'll try to get Leigh back on in just a moment.
Yep, we'll just wait a second here. She's just popping on there.
The wonderful world of technology. It's beautiful. Just 1 second, guys.
Yeah.
Leigh, get back on. Okay. Well, Leigh had some really great tips there. I really want to continue with those tips. I think she might have gotten disconnected. So let's see if she can just get back on here. We've got lots of viewers on today. Hey guys, in the meantime, can you ask some questions? If you have any questions about online marketing or social media, or how design relates to that, post some comments on our Facebook event page, or underneath this video we've got a comment section. So just make sure to post that in there and we will answer those today. So Leigh, where are you? Sometimes what happens with these Google Hangouts is the internet gets disconnected. So we have to make sure we get that internet working again. So let's see if I can give Leigh a call. And in the meantime, Alpha, can you talk a little bit about why design is so important in websites? What makes a good website? I think that's going to really tie into our social media conversation.
Well,
and I'll go call Leigh.
What makes a good website? Well, one of my top rule of thumbs for really having a good website is images, for one. They really need to relate to basically what you are selling or speaking or communicating as a business. Images say 1,000 words and can really set the tone and premise of how people are going to perceive you. When you have a brand package in place, it really sets the way that people communicate with you and kind of understand. Like if you have a lot of dreary images on your website, then people are going to almost be more sympathetic than respectful. Whereas if you have a lot of empowerment images and things of that nature, then people are going to get excited and probably more inspired. The second thing that I think makes a really good website would be navigation. All too often I see a lot of websites where they're very difficult. Oh, we got...
You know what? I think I was talking to a blank screen for a little while there, so I'm glad we're back, and that's, we're live. So, Google is relatively new when it comes to Hangouts. A lot of people are still figuring out, the different bandwidth issues, and so I have everything shut down. We're on. Let's just keep going. So I think you lost me at number 2, right? So number 1 to get rid of overwhelm is to have goals. So, and I know you guys have your worksheet here, so that's the first thing. To get calm is to start with your goals. Do you want more phone calls? Do you want more people on your list? Do you want brand visibility? I mean, these are top drivers for reasons why you want to start investing in social media. Secondly, you want to think about your brand. So who are you? What are your values? What do you want your customers to know about you? And how do you connect with people? Third, you want to think about your audience and your target clients and what are their needs, what are their pain points, and what are they struggling with. And that leads to number 4, which is about editorial. So when you combine all these things about, what are your goals, what are you trying to do, how are you guiding people to those things and services and products. Secondly, if it's your brand, how do you share your values? And we see inspirational quotes shared a lot on Facebook and Twitter. And what people tend to do is really think about, okay, what are the core values of my business? Is it about customer experience? Is it about leadership? Is it about value? Is it about cost saving or time saving steps? Or, who knows? But when you think about those core values, you can think of inspirational quotes that tie into that and share that with your audience, and they're going to identify and get to know you a little bit better. The 5th thing that you want to think about is commitment and consistency. So once you have your editorial plan, you want to commit to it. And so it could be just once a day, it could be twice a day, but you want to be consistent with that. You want to start building trust with your audience, and so having that plan will reduce the overwhelm and get really, you take away the emotions, you take away the stress of technology, and you have a plan and you follow it, and that seems to work.
So you mentioned, building trust. Can we just talk a little bit about that on maybe a few key tips on how to build that trust? I know that you mentioned consistency and, being regular with your social media, making sure you're posting maybe same time, same days, or, sticking with the same kind of topics, maybe on certain days. But how else do you build trust online?
Right. So I think we hear a buzzword a lot about being authentic. So if you have an editorial plan and you are posting questions to your audience, like, how do you deal with this? Or what kind of products are you looking for when it comes to healthcare or fitness even? And they respond, but if you don't respond back and engage, that's sort of a trust buster, if you will. So you're coming across like you're interested, but then you disappear. And that's the same thing when it comes to consistency. So if you're constantly posting on a consistent schedule and then you disappear, that sort of leaves people hanging because they actually, you might not see likes and comments, but your posts you're getting visibility, and if you disappear, it's sort of, disconnect, I guess, if you will, right? So building trust, there's many ways to build trust, and I think consistency is the number one. Being authentic is number two, and just having just a quick check-in, like when you go to post online, really check in with your values, and does this align with my company and what I'm trying to do for my customers? And if it doesn't, then you want to think twice about, posting.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of our clients are actually, well, maybe not even our clients, but sometimes I just see people kind of posting some funny things about, family or their dog, and they're in a very professional industry, so it's funny when you see posts like that, especially on LinkedIn when it's a professional business page, and sometimes it just helps to get that extra advice maybe from a professional such as Leigh Fowler, just to kind of understand what those posts should be and kind of work your content around that so that it's really on brand. I think that you hit that on the nail, Leigh. It really has to be on brand and has to be in line with your message so that it can establish that trust.
Now, I got a question.
Yeah.
When I'm on social media, well, let's say Facebook, for example, I find that I spend about 10 minutes going don't know, yeah, that's funny, that's awesome, no, I'm going to skip that one. Now, am I doing that right? Like, do people notice when I'm going through my feed and I start seeing these things that I like that I'm actually commenting? Like,
You said it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in the like word now. Every other word's going to be like. But do people pay attention to that? Do people start recognizing you and remembering you when you're really, putting your what is it? Your essence on it?
Well, I think my answer is going to surprise you because my first reaction is like Facebook is going to recognize you for that. So Facebook has a crazy algorithm. So if you're liking text-based posts, they're going to send you more text-based posts. If you're liking photo posts, they're going to send you more photo posts or video posts. And additionally, that the 1,500 things they throw into that algorithm, they're also going to look at if you're liking a certain person and their updates regularly, they're going to show you that person's updates more frequently. When you look at the news feed on Facebook, there's only so many posts that can come through. I think it's like 200, like in a sitting or a viewing. And so Facebook is going to selectively feed you stuff based on your habits. So it's kind of freaky Big Brother a little bit. But the second answer to that, Alpha, is that if you look at relationship marketing, and building relationships with people, relationships are two-way. So if you're always posting and never really engaging with others, then there's that authentic piece, right? So you're expecting some engagement on your post, but then you're not engaging with others. It's about community. Mm-hmm. Right? So social media is social. It's about building community around a brand, and so I think that's a great strategy in sort of engaging with others and liking and supporting those people in your community.
Awesome.
Cool.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So when we got cut off earlier, there's a little bit of a technical issue. I had Alpha talk a little bit about why website design is so important. A little bit about website design in general. And I know that when you take a look at website analytics, for example, and kind of look at the numbers and the statistics, you can do that in the back end of some of the CMS systems. Is there ways online outside of the website where you can track statistics? And that kind of brings us into point number 2, the return on investment, online marketing efforts, key measurements. So how do you measure, your return on investment outside of your website, or is that the best way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like to promote an integrative approach to your analytics, but also to your marketing. So the website analytics are great. What I like to look on Google Analytics, there's a few things. So I like to look at where is your traffic coming from. So if you're investing heavily in Facebook posts or Twitter posts, LinkedIn especially, there's a feature in Google Analytics that you can look at referring traffic. So you can look at where those if I'm posting, once a day for a month and then twice a day for the second month, did my traffic change as a result? And so you can look at incoming traffic to your website. Another way to look at things, if you have the analytics installed, is your top content. So when people actually visit your site, what are they actually checking out, and how much time are they spending on those pages? So if they're coming to your site through Google search, and they have a sort of small time, like they call it like a bounce rate or exit rate, so you're looking at 10 seconds or 15 or maybe even 1 or 2 seconds, then it's not really connecting to them. Like what's showing up on Google is not showing up on your site, and then they're kind of out of there. But if you're consistent in your language and they start to spend more time, you're going to see the time spent on the site go up. And that's really important because it means that the content is consistent and it's also in alignment with what you're putting in your metadata. I'm geeking out a little bit here, but so website analytics are great for content and sort of looking at your editorial plan. And so if your top content themes are starting to look like there's one area that a lot of people are gravitating towards, maybe that for your next quarter, that's what your content should focus on, because that's what people are looking for, right? And so I think that's a neat way to use analytics. As far as ROI, I think that you're also looking at the incoming traffic, like we said. So when you get off of Google and you're looking at maybe Facebook, Facebook has insights, so you can look at kind of how people are engaging with your posts, which posts are the top posts, and it's actually ideal. I really recommend looking at weekly reports that summarize at each end of each month. So if you look at weekly reports, you're looking at weekly likes, weekly follows, weekly unfollows, weekly dislikes, if you will. So that's kind of just nice to keep track of. So if you're promoting your Facebook page from your website, is that increasing your likes? Or if you have a newsletter and you tell people about your Facebook page, is that a natural way to increase likes for your brand? So it's just ways of tracking your efforts and looking. So I think for everyone it's different depending on your goals. So before you kind of start launching your online marketing plan, I think it's important to define what are you measuring. For example, like if you have a download on your website, for email signups, for example, you want to look at how many downloads are you getting per month, or how many people are downloading that piece, or how many people are signing up to your newsletter. And so those are great things to track up front, not after the fact. So that's a key point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you were talking a little bit about engagement and building trust earlier, so I kind of wanted to, I think it really ties in with what you were just talking about, is engagement is going to really help with that return on investment. So, what are the 9 B's of engagement? I think this is something that we've talked about in the past, and I really want you to share that with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And these 9 B's of engagement that I'm going to share with you today, are based on tried and true strategies that I've worked with several of my past projects, if you will. Especially if you look at the first one we tried this with was when I was working as digital media director at Robert Kennedy Publishing with Eat Clean Diet. DistillDesign.com, and our goal was really, we had no editorial staff, we had basically no budget at the time because it was mostly books and magazines, and so we had to build a case for like why to invest in digital media and online marketing. And so one of the things that the team talked about was like, how do we help our readers get past, how do we help them more than what the books are doing? And so we decided we wanted to actually build community around the brand. And so these 9 Bs of engagement led to, we created a membership site where it grew to 84,000 members in less than 2 years. And it also tripled our traffic, doubled our opt-ins. And so I'm going to share with you those 9 Bs of engagement right now. So this is actually number 3 on your worksheet over here. So you grab your pens, and yeah. So I'm going to run through them and then maybe talk a little bit. Maybe you guys have questions about some of them, but the first one is about being curious. So if you want to provide the most stellar service for your clientele, you want to be curious about what their needs are. So using social media or a blog or even a button on your website that says, ask a question. With eClean Diet, we had question of the day. And so people would submit answers, and so they give a sense of community around what all the other people visiting the site were experiencing. And so that was really exciting. So we had daily questions, and then we also featured some of those answers in blog posts later on. So that actually, when people say, I'm not a writer, I don't have content, or I don't have staff to write content, repurposing user-generated content is a huge way to start updating your site. And Google search specifically will recognize you. Like, the more you update your website, the more visibility you're going to get on search engine ranking results. So if you can repurpose even Facebook comments on your blog to give people a sense of community around what you're doing, oh my goodness, it's contagious. And people like to be recognized and feel like they're part of something. So the second piece of B's of engagement is about being helpful, of course. So, this is old-fashioned business sense, I think, and so that's where I remove all technology and think about, okay, what are the true success factors of business? And it's about being helpful, of course, one of them. Being honest. So you might notice, like, when you post or tweet more honest kind of experiences or behind the scenes, that tends to get a lot of engagement because people are voyeuristically, a lot of us, we have voyeuristic tendencies, I think, on social media. We like to see what people are up to. And so when you share behind the scenes of your life, it can really create like an engaging situation when people ask questions or kind of want to know more or come back to see what you're up to the next day, because we're all living different lives and we're curious. So being honest is number 3. Number 4 is about being open. So, we had technical difficulties today, and right away we're posting in the comments below like, hey, we are having technical difficulties. We're being, we're being honest here, we're being open. And I think people appreciate that, and it's not like we're hiding in the dark and, we're just, I think it's about being open. And so sometimes we get customer complaints or we have product recalls. The more open you are about those things, the better, because people appreciate that honesty and authenticity. Number 5 is about being active. So we talked about that 2-way. Am I still there, guys? Yeah? Okay, good.
I'm looking over to make sure that I'm catching all questions if they come in. So.
Yeah, sure. We should address them after the 9 Bs of engagement, for sure. And Evan, if you're out there watching, I want you to post a question. So we have being active, and recently at the Social Media Marketing World in March in San Diego, Mari Smith was there. She's a relationship marketing expert, specifically on Facebook, and she mentioned that our audiences often, when we're asking questions on social media, specifically Facebook, usually we have an average, benchmark response time of 19 hours. But based on a report that she did, she said that actually Facebook users expect a response in 30 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there's a huge difference between sort of average company response times and sort of what the Facebook user is expecting. And so one of the two things, and you'll see this in my recent article in Online Marketing Magazine next month, or Online Marketing Manager Magazine, is that the two things she recommends are, you know, if you're investing in a team, is number one, content creator, and number two, community manager. So it's about being active, and so eventually you're not going to be able to keep up with all those likes and comments and all those things. So you need someone to help kind of funnel those and answer them as part of the team strategy. The 6 points. So number 5 is about being active. And number 6 is about being genuine. So, you know, you want to be on brand, you want to be consistent and genuine in sort of who you are. You don't want to falsely represent yourself. You know, people are going to catch on, you know. We talk about being authentic, so people can kind of tell when you're not really, you know, being upfront. So it's about being genuine. And sometimes that'll show in how you respond to things or how you don't respond. Number 7 is about being consistent. So I'm all about having a plan and structure and a plan that is consistent. So people expect things from us, and we need to deliver on a regular basis. We're a business, right? So this is key. And number 8 is about being strategic. Okay, so we're going back to, you know, getting out of overwhelm and having goals, having a brand and key messages, about having target audiences and pain points and helping them with those pain points. So being very strategic and even looking at, you know, we talked about analytics. Facebook Insights, if you click on there for your page, you can actually tell what time of day your fans are online and engage the most. So if you time your posts at those times of day, that is also going to help you with your engagement. So having that strategy is key. And the last one, I'm just going to sip a glass of water here.
And while you're sipping your water, I'll have to say a really great tool to use is Hootsuite, so that you can pre-schedule your posts, post-date them. So if you find out those times where that type of audience that you're trying to talk to is most on Facebook, for example, then you can, you know, pre-schedule your posts on Hootsuite so that it makes it a little bit easier for you in the long run, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So I have kind of mixed opinions about Hootsuite. So Hootsuite is a tool. There's other ones out there, Post Planner, Plugio. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but basically with Facebook, it's a little bit different. So Facebook reportedly will kind of reward you if you're posting on Facebook, and Facebook has its own scheduler.
Is this opposed to using Hootsuite, you mean?
Pardon me? Yeah. So when you use Facebook Scheduler, they're going to reward you a little bit in visibility, partly because they want to see that you're engaged with the community and actually online. Mm-hmm. However, hold on one second. So for your individual business page, I think it's important to post directly. And for your fan page, I think it's okay and acceptable to use a post planner like Hootsuite. And so that's the only difference with Facebook, is that when you're posting personally, I think people want to see you being kind of engaged, whereas with the business fan page, you know, because it will say posted via Hootsuite, so people know that you're actually not there. Whereas when the business page posts, you know, the people kind of accept that. So just it's a minor thing. However, Monica, you bring up a really great thing about Hootsuite, and so you can actually auto-plan your posts to Twitter, to LinkedIn groups, to Facebook groups, to Google Plus, even your business page at least, not your personal profile. And so what this does is actually you could sit down and save so much time if you have a plan to schedule your whole month's worth of social media in an afternoon. And you actually, with Hootsuite, you have there's a bulk upload option there, so you can put all your posts into an Excel file, a CSV, and like upload it with all the times, and boom, like you're done, right? So
I had no idea.
Oh wow, I want one of those.
Yeah.
I start using my Hootsuite better.
So great. So yeah, being consistent and using those tools that are available to you are really quite helpful. And then strategically picking, which platforms you're going to post to from Hootsuite and which ones you're actually going to be, automatically. Because sometimes people will see, like with Instagram, for example, they're going to see like, did this post via mobile, or was this kind of, uploaded through a third party and not really happening in real time. So I think, being genuine and upfront about when you're posting and how is good. And last of all, the ninth B of engagement is about making it easy for people to respond. So sometimes, or making it easy for people to kind of continue onto your website. So I always encourage people, like when you're posting on Facebook, is include a link back to your site for more information, or make it easy, like give them options if you're asking them a question, like 1 or 2, option A, B, or C, which one is what you prefer, what you'd like to do this weekend. So then people can just answer like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, true or false. Like it's really easy to answer with one-word answers in the comments below. So that's another strategy, is about kind of guiding people to what you want them to do, but making it easy for them. Don't make them search for things, and that's where you guys come in handy, is when you're doing visual graphics on a website, people come to the website, you want to make it visually easy to guide them to what you want them to do, but to also help them find what they're looking for in the first place. And so that consistent flow of brand, I was, again, at Social Media Marketing World, Melanie Duncan was talking about conversion, and she said, when you have a visually consistent platform of, your Facebook ad and your landing page and the email follow-up, all these visual cues, if they're consistent, will actually increase your conversion. So, like with the Google Hangouts that we did today, you guys had a nice Facebook post graphic, and it went to a landing page, and it was similar branding, and so this keeps people, or it gets people feeling, a lot safer in sort of what they're signing up to. It's not like Joe Schmo website, and I see one thing and I click here and it's like fluorescent yellow and totally different. Like, you really want to connect the user's experience from one platform to the next. And so, when you're looking at your Twitter profile and your Facebook, those cover pictures at the top of those pages, are they in alignment with what's happening on your website? Is your logo current? Is your photo current? As I have been using social media to promote my business, I've been about 18 months now. I'm over the 1-year hump, which is so thrilling as a business owner. Mm-hmm. I go to events and people are like, I know you, and I'm like, what do you mean? And sometimes they're like, you look a little different. Like, I change my hair color a lot, so I got to be careful. I got to keep my profile picture like really current. But people look at these things, and then when you go out there, and connect with people, it's about using social media to kind of connect offline as well. So those profiles are, the branding and the visual cues there, right down to your photo and your logo, and sort of the images you have there are so important in being consistent. By giving those visual cues to people to visually, remember you or connect with you in person or virtually, whichever. So things to keep in mind. So those are, I'm going to read them out real quick. To be curious, be helpful, be honest, be open, be active, be genuine, be consistent, be strategic, and be easy. Make it easy. I had the wording wrong there, but yeah. So you get my point.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that, Leigh. That's great, and it always ties back to that relationship and building trust, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the internet, as much as we're there's some great statistics about how many people even just using Facebook per month. I mean, it's in the billions, and so we're all using it, and I think it's something like 1.6 million small businesses are using Facebook fan pages, so it's not going away. People are using it. However, there's still that sense of like mistrust, or just that worry of like being taken for a scam, like and maybe clicking a button that gets your credit card information. So there's a lot of kind of fear still there, and even me, I mean, I'm technically kind of comfortable, if you will, but I'm cautious. And so when I see sites that don't look like they've been updated very frequently, I feel like they've been abandoned. So I read a stat 2 years ago that there's over 27 million people in Canada are online, using the internet to search for, are using the internet on a regular basis, and 92% of them are going online to research products. And so if your website isn't up to date, if it's not like explaining to people what you do, and if it doesn't look like you're actually in business, like it hasn't been updated in a couple years, that's going to kind of make people lose a little bit of trust in you, because they're sort of cautious and they don't necessarily know that you're still in business. And you fill out those forms, the contact us forms, and if there's not a system there to notify you and you don't respond in a timely manner, again, that's another trust buster. So
update your websites, people.
Yeah.
Get with the program.
So would you say that having live feeds to your pages or to your social media accounts is a great way to show that your site is alive and that you are in business? Because some sites are really, really simple for some clients that we have, and you just don't really have anything to show that it's being updated. So would putting feeds on there really give it some sort of liveliness?
Yeah, so I know that for some of our audience, they might not know what feeds are, but basically, when you, like a simple update to a website is perhaps integrating what's happening on your social media platforms and integrating that onto your website. And so that's a simple code, if you will, that you can put onto your page. And what it looks like is you're going to see the branding of perhaps Twitter. So a Twitter feed will display on your website. Maybe it's on the sidebar, but it shows that you're currently updating your company brand, right? Like links to maybe content on your website, maybe updates from your personal events. And so it's really key to, that's a great little fixer-upper, if you will, is to start putting some feeds on your site. Yeah, absolutely. And then, it's about having a whole integrative approach. So if your website doesn't have, Twitter, Facebook, follow me buttons as well, that's another area. So, you're sending people to your website, and then you're also sending them to your social. So you kind of keep people connected. And again, Google will also, when you have that kind of incoming links and outgoing links, they're also going to help you increase your visibility on search rankings, because it validates you, like people are actually, it's a live site and people are coming there to visit. And that's, that we talk about ROI. If you have a lot of incoming links from Twitter or LinkedIn to your website, that is actually going to help you with your visibility on search rankings.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move along here and talk about number 4 on your worksheet, people. It's talking about social media. Now, we've touched a lot about on that today. Just a few key tips, if you can give us, Leigh, on why use social media.
Yeah, so social media for me is about building relationships and community around a brand. It's about nurturing those relationships, but ultimately, that's the kind of like the woo-woo answer, if you will. It's sort of the touchy-feely answer, but really, at the end of the day, it's about building visibility for your brand. It's about so many things. Where do I start? Pardon me. So why use social media? I take it for granted, I guess. So what I see when people start using it is a higher awareness in their community about what they do. So, and support as well. So, when I was talking about going to an event and people coming up to me and saying, hey, I know you, and we've never met. We've met virtually. We're actually sometimes friends on Facebook, but we've never met in person. And so I think that's kind of interesting that it takes that relationship online and extends it offline, and at the same space, it takes people from that offline experience. You meet someone at a networking event or a seminar, and you can connect online, so easily, and continue that relationship, build that trust, right? So often people fall in love with you first, and then they fall in love with your services. So if they kind of get a sense of your values and your brand and your product, and they have an opportunity to interact with you, that's about building trust, and ultimately that's going to lead to sales for your business. And so that's why I recommend using social media to market your business, but I also recommend that you don't depend on those platforms alone. Like, your website has to convert into phone calls or a list or some kind of interactivity. At the social media marketing world, the founder of socialmediaexaminer.com. So social media marketing world, just to give some perspective, it brought together 80 international experts on social media. There were 1,800 attendees. It was back in March, and the founder of socialmediaexaminer.com, Michael Stelzner, put this event together. And what he said was that, basically I'm losing track of what I'm saying here. But social media is really about, yes, here's the quote. He said on stage, "You don't want to build your house on rented land. So you don't own your Facebook fans. You don't own your Twitter followers. And so when you do look at your efforts, like you might be posting a lot of funny images on Facebook, but if you're not bringing your fans back to your website and onto your list, then you're not really getting your ROI." Personally, that's my opinion on it. And so they're connected, and we've seen even with Facebook's organic reach, it's going down, and they're kind of forcing us to pay more. But if it's the ones that are going to be investing in Facebook marketing and the Facebook ads specifically that are going to get more traction on Facebook than those that aren't. So the goal, though, is if you're going to invest in Facebook ads, it's to invest in getting those Facebook fans off of Facebook and onto your list.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Leigh.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the question of how often do we post? This is a really big question. I know we've talked a little bit about it in the past. Before going into too much detail, how about you answer that? How often do you post on social media?
Sure. So there's a couple easy ways to figure that out. One of them is really to look at your competitors and see how often they're posting and sort of get a gauge of what you need to do to be in the game. Secondly, I want to say there's kind of a custom answer. So it depends what you're trying to do, and it depends who your audience is and what time of day they're online, and if they're online. I mean, the majority of people today are just going to be online. So I really, I find it funny when people say, well, my customers aren't online. And it's like, no, with billions of people using Facebook every month, I tend to disagree.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so how often, frequency, you're looking at, Twitter's kind of interesting because the general theme with Twitter is if it's live, it's on Twitter. So you might see like 20 posts an hour during the Game of Thrones finale, or, the live awards show, or the Super Bowl, or the soccer game. We saw, oh my goodness, the stats on what was happening during the World Cup a few weeks ago, just incredible, right? So I don't know if they crashed Twitter, but it definitely was a space for regular tweeting and more than usual. And frequency-wise, it was just incredible. And as an entrepreneur and small business owner, if you're at an event, you might be tweeting some of the quotes that the speakers are using. You might be posting photos. So you might be posting 10 photos an hour or 10 tweets an hour. But then during your regular schedule, you have just kind of like 1 or 2 posts a day that you do. So again, it goes back to your editorial plan. It goes back to what products you're trying to sell and what are your goals at the end of the day. So you have your kind of baseline frequency of like, what are we doing every single day on social media to bring more business and visibility and to our brand. And then secondly, what are some maybe you have a launch, so there might be a separate frequency campaign for that launch that you're doing. So maybe for 1 week you might up it to 4 times a day just to kind of get that awareness going. And something you might do on Facebook is actually run dark posts. So dark posts are not necessarily going to show to everybody, but you're going to get, you might run them every hour to a whole other audience. So, frequency depends on the client, depends on the customer's goals and what they're actually posting about.
Yeah, awesome.
Now, does the post have to be different every time, or can you post the same post multiple times throughout the day? Like, are there people that look at their feeds and see the same post and be like, oh my god, I'm sick of this, why are they doing this? Or, like, is that equivalent to boosting, or am I jumping into
No, I think that it depends on the platform. So I think we're talking about Facebook right now, but there's I think it's John Loomer. He said at one point he was posting every hour on Facebook, and it was potentially the same post or slightly different, but the goal behind that was that the visibility on the news feed, if only 10% of your audience, of your fans, are seeing your posts, then the more posts you do, the more they're going to see. But that's a little excessive, and so yeah, so it kind of depends. I think that you have to have original content, but it's okay to repurpose some of it and duplicate it. Maybe not necessarily the same day, but over time.
Right. Okay, cool. And we talked a little bit about, how often do you post, and you were saying that it could be industry specific as well. It depends on what business you're in. So it kind of ties in with the worksheet number 6. Is it industry specific? So yes, it can be, right?
Yeah, and I think the better question too is to say, more like, is it platform specific? So LinkedIn might be different than Instagram, might be different than Twitter, and so depending on your goals and sort of how you've decided you're going to reach your audience, then it's about picking your frequency there. So I think industry specific, you have B2B and B2C. So that's also another factor that you want to kind of work in there.
I actually just read online, I don't know where I read this, but it was saying something about it's no longer B2B anymore. It's H to H, human to human.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, so I think that, industry specific, I don't know, sometimes you can borrow from other industries. So if another industry is doing something really well, take for example, this is a great example. If you look at the movie industry, they do trailers for their movies, right? So like a 30-second trailer or a 1-minute trailer. Well, with, back, I guess, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we started thinking about having microsites for book launches. So you look at movies have their movie sites and movie trailers. Why can't a book have its own launch site and microsite with about the author and about the book? So that worked really well for some of our brands in the past. So you can definitely borrow from other industries when it comes to social media marketing.
Cool. So right. So personal versus business pages is number 7 on the worksheet. So I really need to know about this, Leigh. You've got to shed some light. What's the difference between a business and a personal page, and how do we get people to not be confused? When we're trying to sell to our target market, or we're trying to engage our target market, and we've got like a business and a personal page. What does that all mean? How do we separate the two? How do we post to the two?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it does come back down to the strategy, right, and your goals. So kind of how do you want to do things, and what are you guiding people to do? I find with Twitter, having a personal Twitter account is kind of key, because you're connecting personally with other people on Twitter. It's a conversation. It's a live conversation. You're sharing your opinion. However, sometimes a brand will also have an opinion too, right? So, Pepsi or, bigger brands, they have their business Twitter accounts, and what gets posted there is a reflection of their brand and their point of view. And so I think when you have like Facebook and you have a personal and a business, there's different advantages to those, and a personal Facebook profile will allow you, you can invite, if you have an event, you can invite all your friends personally, versus a fan page, you can't directly do that. Fan pages, I guess you can auto post to fan pages and not directly in personal business accounts. So to answer your question, I'm giving you some kind of context and sort of scenarios, but it just depends. Like if you're an expert or a coach or an individual who you're a solopreneur, having a personal profile that you actively use to represent your brand is probably key, and then it might be reinforced by your business profiles. And like if you're showing behind the scenes, like if your strategy is to kind of give people a sense of who you are and your expertise, like you're going to events and you're being interviewed over here, and here's my office and I'm putting out my new book and here's the cover, and like that is ideal for a personal profile, right? Our Instagram account, for example. LinkedIn is always, there's personal and then there's business. Business accounts make it easier for people to follow you. They don't have to necessarily connect with you if it's a business LinkedIn page, company page. Same with Facebook, fan pages. Anyone can like that, but not everyone can be your friend on Facebook. And so there's certain kind of things like some of the best Facebook marketers on the planet, will accept friend requests. It's kind of interesting. So, but they want to make themselves accessible, and they really believe in that relationship and having access to them. And so, but that's a strategy, right? So if someone's promoting relationships, then they're going to use their personal profile to actually connect with people. And as a solopreneur or business owner, what I've found in networking in public and live events is that people are connecting on Facebook via personal profiles. Now, Facebook does have a feature that you can actually post to different lists, like individuals or friends or colleagues, so you can get kind of strategic in who sees your posts. And, so if you're posting a lot about your business, but you don't want your family to kind of be inundated with that, you can actually just post to your non-family list.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. We have a lot of clients that will ask that question, and that actually really answers it. What if I don't want to bother my family? Or I want to send to specific people only, just post to specific people. There's definitely an option for that, so that's really great.
Yeah, but it really is a strategy, and I think that things build on each other. So, I mean, if you don't even have a Facebook profile, you want to probably start there, and then you have your Facebook fan page, and they can actually cross-promote each other, and that's another strategy, right? So I think that, and if you have, like we talked about on websites, if you have a feed that goes into your website, then, what do you want people to see on your website? Is it your personal updates about your dog or your cat, or is it kind of more a strategic tweet or post? And so you have to consider that as well in sort of that integrative approach. So again, it's really, it's not, it's about having a plan and a strategy behind everything you do, and just being strategic. It's very public, right?
So what I kind of gathered from today is I realized that you really need to kind of have a strategy in place with your social media, with online marketing. Really try to build your community and your tribe, and be very strategic with what kind of posts you're posting. Make sure the content's very brand relevant, and that you're not just belligerent with your posts and just posting anything at all about your dog or the next neighbor, but just being very strategic with that. So thank you for that, Leigh. Yeah. I actually want to open up the floor to some questions from other people. So if anybody has some questions, please post them live under the video screen right now, and then we will answer them live. Let's see who's got some questions here. Okay. Well, that's a very good question, Connie. So how professional do the videos have to be? And that might be something that Alpha can answer, and then I'll have you take over, Leigh.
Yes.
What do you think, Alpha?
Oh, there's all sorts of different types of videos, and I think for the most part it's just a matter of consistency. If you're going to be doing videos with your iPhone, then I would say do all your videos with your iPhone and try to have it in a consistent setting, and as long as the sound is good, you're good.
Sound and clear.
Yeah.
What do you think, Leigh?
Well, I had some insights. I was at DX3 earlier this year, and one of YouTube's Canadian guys, I'm not sure, I can't remember his name right now, but I will post it later on my site. But he was saying try a three-pronged approach. So if you were to, and I agree with Alpha too, like you want to be consistent, and so to kind of build on that answer, what he suggested was that if you kind of plan out your year and maybe you have 3 like really professional videos that you put out, maybe 1 a quarter, for example, these are kind of your wow, the things you maybe want to go viral or that you put everywhere. Maybe it's your LinkedIn video and it's on your website and on your homepage, and it really represents your brand. But then he also talked about having kind of your consistency plan, so like a weekly show or schedule where you're consistently posting stuff, and maybe it's a tip of the week or coffee chat or something like that. And technically, maybe I don't think it has to look super professional, but I think it has to be consistent.
Right.
And I think the other thing he said too was so you have and then the other thing too is, so there's the three-pronged approach is to have your quarterly big bang, big budget type videos that you put everywhere. You have your weekly or monthly video that you release that's on brand. Maybe you have it like there's a theme or something, like you guys have your Distilled TV, right? So this is potentially going to be your monthly structured strategy content update for video. And then the third area is sort of upfront. So this is like all your information videos about your business. So you can post like 10 or 20 little mini videos, like 1 minute at a time, of like who you are, what your business is, what you do, questions that people ask, and this can be kind of like your baseline content for video. So I hope that answers your question.
And I'd like to add to that and say, it's really important to make sure that you're strategic with the amount of time you're placing on your videos, making sure that they're well under 2 minutes. Of course, it depends on the industry, depends on what the video is, but generally speaking, it should be under 2 minutes. Nobody has time to watch a video for more than 2 minutes, and actually, I think that number's lowered now. So just keep that in mind, guys. So we've got a question here from Chloe, and we touched a little bit on this earlier, but she's asking, how frequently should you be posting other people's ideas in motivational quotes? She's noticing that some people on Twitter, for example, they post only quotations from other people and nothing else. So, how often do you post those quotes from other people? Once a day, once a week? How would that go?
Well, hi, Chloe. Thanks for asking your question. And I think it also goes back down to strategy. So like say quotes are a piece of your strategy, but you also want to drive traffic to the website, and then you have another strategy for event awareness and tips. I like to give themes to the days of the week. So if you think about, I'm going to be really basic here, but like motivational Mondays, Tuesday tips, Wednesday, come on, guys, what's a Wednesday? I don't
Wednesday Wizard.
Throwback Thursdays. And yeah, I don't know. What did you say, Monica?
Wednesday Wizard. Make it magical.
Yeah. So I think when you're picking your quotes, like you might pick 7 themes and 1 theme for each day of the week. And so, on Mondays you post a motivational quote, and Tuesdays it might be like, or financial Fridays, you have financial tips or something like that. And so, I think it's about what are you trying to do, and then, how often, frequent is based on sort of the ultimate goals. So I hope, Chloe, that answers your question, but ultimately it's about just having a plan and being consistent. So when you're first starting out, it might just be once a week even.
Yeah. And another thing Chloe mentions is that the social media can become an addiction, quite possibly at the expense of revenue-generating activities. I agree with that, but as long as you have a strategy in place, it will work. But I think, sorry, Leigh, I'm just going to answer this quickly, because I think that, when you come to a place in your business, you have to try to get help from other people to help with your social media, because it can be addictive, and if you don't have a strategy in place, it can be going into those hours that are billable. So you could be losing money. You could be doing revenue-generating activities when you're spending time on the social media instead. So it's you really have to maybe see if there's some other team members that you can reach out to help you with that. For example, Leigh's really great at that, and we'll be talking in just a second about, we've got packages that we do with Leigh. So if you guys are interested in something like this, we are here for you. So, and actually, at the bottom of the video, or at the side panel of the video, there's a link for a design review session with us or a strategy session with Leigh. So you can definitely click on those if you want to get some extra tips from us.
Those are complimentary for attendees today.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Could I, just to add to that as well, I think that when you're posting randomly and there's no structure to what you're doing, you could be wasting so much time and energy. And so I think when you do have that strategy in place, and even I think when you talk about time wasting, Chloe, like sometimes we could be online all day long on social media. And so if you look at your day and structure it where, okay, I'm going to check in at 7 a.m., I'm going to check in at 11 a.m., and I'm going to check in at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. or something for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, you really have to be disciplined in sort of structuring that time, and it has to be purposeful. And then people also get used to that. So if you're only online at a certain time, like, they're going to also get used to that, and you train your audience what to expect.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Leigh. So we've got a question from Geeta. And she's asking, can you expand a little bit on SEO and search engine ranking as it relates to achieving higher search results for your company website and a blog? I know we touched a little bit on that earlier on ways to check out your analytics. I know that with our clients, Leigh, when you and I work together, we look at Google Webmaster Tools, Google Analytics, things like that. Is there anything else we can touch on?
Yeah, I think, there's a difference between organic Google rankings and then paid Google rankings, and so there's a lot of things you can do organically as part of your best practices, your day-to-day kind of rituals that will, over time, it's a slower process, sometimes up to 6 months before it kind of connects with Google, and those could be, installing SEO apps onto your back end, like on your dashboard of a WordPress account or Joomla, for example. But really, it's about having strategy in your content. So things like your titles and your keywords, and then your actual content continually has the same keywords throughout. And so you're consistent. And then the Google robots that troll your site can actually see, okay, the topics are consistent and in alignment. And so the other thing about Google rankings is the more you update your website, the more visibility you're going to get. Google Hangouts is another way to increase visibility. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, Google, whenever you put new and unique or original content on your site, it increases your ranking. Google rewards that every time. So that's why blogs are such a big deal, and just having posts on your site in general is a big deal, because every new one is just getting you that much closer to either getting to the top or even just finding that ideal client that you're looking for.
Yeah, we're really into organic SEO. So, there's companies out there where you can pay tons and tons of money, thousands and thousands of dollars to, get you to number one. But really, what I tell my clients is to really try to start that organically. Finding somebody like Leigh who can really help with those posts and doing it, on a relationship basis, build your tribe, and really concentrate on doing that organically through the people that are on your social media.
Yeah, I tend to have a fear that when you're really paying for all the advertisements and you're throwing all these different things before you get the organic touch in there, your site almost looks like it's being run by a machine rather than a person, and you kind of lose that authenticity.
Would you agree with that, Leigh, that you start organically first and then go into maybe paid ads after?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree, and I think also that when you have those ads and then they come to the website, and if the content doesn't really match, we talked about bounce rates and exit, it's like people will come, but they're only going to be there for 10 seconds, and you want them to keep clicking and to go to the next page and click that tag of, if it's financial planning, it's like, okay, investment tips, financial planning, there's so many things there that you keep them clicking, spending more time on your site. And so, yeah, absolutely. And Google also sees that. It sees that the incoming traffic, and it looks at those bounce rates and looks at how, okay, are people actually hanging out on this site, or are they just like, I'm out of here, you know?
Right. Awesome. Well, okay, so that's pretty much all the questions we've got from everyone, I think. Is there more? Oh, okay, we've got just a few more. I think we have time to answer one more here. We've got a question here from James. Is there still value in Google AdWords, i.e. generating revenue for your site? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a plan, it's a strategy, and with Google AdWords, what that can do is actually like really boost what you're doing organically. So if you wanted to kind of test things out, Google AdWords is a great way to test your organic keywords, for example. So if you had, 5 AdWords that were running with different keywords, you could kind of test which keywords were getting the most traction to your website, and then potentially using those keywords on your landing pages more frequently, or maybe in your content planning. So absolutely, AdWords are a really exciting way to drive traffic to your website, but also really good for testing. So that's the fun part, I think, in testing those keywords and the language that you get almost instant results. So I think that's, yeah. So yes. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You know what? I'm actually going to squeeze in just a couple more. Sorry, I really need to ask this one because it's a good one from Deborah. Is there a negative effect from constantly posting other people's quotes as opposed to posting your own?
Negative effect? No. I mean, the only effect that I could see is that if that's all you're doing and you're not driving traffic to your website, I don't know. That's gonna, it's not really cost effective, right? It's that whole quote about rent, buying a house on rented land. Like, if you're always tweeting quotes on Twitter, like, where's that going to get you, right? But another thing too is if you're quoting other people's quotes, make sure they're in alignment with the values of your company. So when you're picking those quotes, it's about leadership or consistency, strategy. For me, I really like to help people confront their fears of technology and get past overwhelm. So I like to quote a lot of things about peace of mind and confidence, because I think that's what we do. I mean, together, Monica and Alpha, when I work with you guys, it's about having confidence in what you're doing and knowing that you have a plan. And so those are quotes that I identify with my brand, and those are the ones I'm going to pick.
Okay, awesome. And then Geeta just asks, what steps would you take to develop a content strategy?
I think hitting the session
I
button.
think hitting that session button would be a really good idea. Do you agree with that? I think that kind of brings us into great question, Geeta. I think we are offering you guys a design review from us if you wanted to talk about graphic web design and your branding. And then Leigh has a really awesome deal just for you guys that have signed up, that go in and book that strategy call with her. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that, Leigh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sometimes we just don't know where to get started and what we start with first, or what platform to post on, and how frequent, and what do we post, and I mean, there's so many questions. So a strategy session with me, these are complimentary, usually about 20 minutes, virtual, and what we kind of go over is sort of what elements of your marketing are missing, what are you struggling with, what kind of team are you working with, and budget, because there's a strategy for every budget, and I really like to leave people with a few key actionable items that they can take away with immediately to improve and optimize their efforts on online marketing, social media. And then, maybe we can take it further, and maybe there's a good cohesiveness there where, you need some support in writing those posts, and there's all kinds of things we can do. But at the end of the day, and you guys, and that's where we work so well together, is that we like to leave our clients feeling a little bit more confident and in control and less overwhelmed, and so that's key. And we like to customize our strategies for it's all, for me, I'm all about the strategy, and then tactics second, right? Strategy first, tactics second. And for you guys, I think it's about brand and visual cues and guiding people. I mean, it's very strategic.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for answering that, Leigh. That's great. So, yeah, we just wanted to wrap this up and thank everybody for joining in. We've had some amazing questions. I'm so glad that I finally learned how to use this thing. This is great. And we really hope you guys take advantage of these sessions. We don't always offer them, and this is free for you guys today. And again, thank you so much for being here. And Leigh, do you have any final remarks? Because we really want to thank you for being here too. We're so happy that you decided to join us today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I really think that, video marketing is, and what we're doing today, it's about connecting even more with people. And if it's about relationships, and social media is really, I believe, is about relationships and nurturing those relationships, then video marketing is also another big step in the right direction, because you get that instant contact or connection with people. And so I really, that's another area that's emerging. We all have smartphones, I think it's millions and millions of people now. We all own smartphones and video access. So that's another element of marketing. So yeah, I'm kind of excited that we're trying this out and, getting a bit more comfortable on Google Plus Hangouts. As it's a really great tool. It's a free tool. Live video streaming. I can't believe it. So, pretty cool. Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to be your first guest.
Thank you, Leigh. And just to all of you, if you have any suggestions of things that you would like us to talk about, maybe other questions you'd like to have answered, we would love to answer them for you in another Google Hangout coming up soon, a Distilled Hangout coming up soon. And we definitely look forward to having Leigh on again to help us out. So thank you guys so much for being here, and we will talk again soon. And definitely,
also, if you guys want, you can send your emails for suggestions at distillme@distildesign.ca.
That's a good thing to include, yes.
Yeah.
And you can definitely post comments on our YouTube page as well as underneath the video for today's Hangout. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye, Leigh.
Bye, guys.